Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Image Builder Office Hours. We do this every 2 weeks. It's Monday, June 3rd. We are a sub-project of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, Kubernetes SIGs project, and as you probably know, we abide by their rules of conduct, which basically boils down to everybody try to be nice to each other, try not to talk over each other, use the raise hand feature in Zoom if you can. We don't usually have a lot of issues here, but just want to make it a welcoming environment. Also, at the beginning of the meeting, we give a minute for new people to introduce themselves. If this is the first time you've come here, you haven't been here in a while, or if you feel like saying something, you don't need to, but I'll be quiet for a minute, and the mic is yours.
I'm Matt. I'm a maintainer on Kappa, Cluster API provider OpenStack. We consume images, so I'm interested.
Well, thanks for coming, Matt. All right. If there's nothing else, let's move on. Marcus put the big thing on the agenda, but I think he can't make it this morning. But basically, as you're probably well aware, the CNCF finally weighed in on the Packer HashiCorp's new licensing and said essentially, no, it's not compatible with CNCF. We like to see things that are properly open source licensed. And I don't think any of us really argue with the fact that the new license isn't a real proper license. And unfortunately, I guess they decided that in March or something, but we didn't trickle down to the issue, so we weren't really aware of it until very recently. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place because obviously Image Builder is highly based on Packer. It wouldn't be a stretch to say it's just a bunch of make files and other scripts that sort of wrap Packer. That's essentially what it is. So replacing Packer, the entire guts of Image Builder, seems like quite a stretch. And so basically the topic is open. We are looking for ideas. Drew and Marcus and I, the active maintainers of the project, have kicked this around in the past, but without this same sense of urgency, because we had somehow sort of thought that CNCF was going to be okay with it, or there was a way to continue working with Packer. So this didn't become a big deal until very recently. So we put some thought into it, but I don't think there's any clear path forward. So I'll stop talking and just feel free to jump in if you have any comments or ideas. I'll try to take some notes.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we originally had a chat about a few different approaches. Obviously one was, can we fork Packer ourselves and do basic security patches to it? But I've had a play with that over the past week, and it's monolithic, the repo. It's huge, and it's got so many other dependencies on things like console and Vault, which have obviously also gone to BSL, and I really don't fancy forking those two as well and maintaining those two. So in reality, I think that's a no-go because I like spending time with my family. So I'd like to continue spending time with my family rather than maintaining 3 different projects. I mean, there is an alternative to Vault, but again, you know, it is an alternative now. It's a fork. So as that, you know, verges away from however Vault's designed, it's, you know, there's no guarantee it's going to continue working. And I don't know if there's anything for console. So for me, that is a no-go, which is a shame. The other option was potentially to just remove the Packer binary. Like, I don't think HCL in itself has gone under the BSL. I'm pretty sure the code that is used is technically fine. I'd need to verify that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. In which case, we could just say bring your own Packer. Now, it does put a slight barrier in between users and the consumers of Image Builder, but in reality, I don't think it's that big a barrier that it would make people say, oh, well, this is unusable anymore. It just means you have to bring your own Packer for it to work. I think most people will have Packer installed on their own systems if they're doing it locally, and it's pretty easy to install into a pipeline if you wanted to. I mean, yeah, that is a potential option. And the other one is the one that actually Matt has made a note on right there, which is systemd sysx. Now, the downside to that, I think, is Windows doesn't support it. And I don't know if there's ever going to be any potential that it will, considering it's a systemd thing. So, I mean, do we want to start having different approaches in the repo? I'm not totally against it, but then it's the maintainability. It's, you know, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my 2 cents on it anyway.
Yeah.
Bootsy, I've not even looked at, to be honest, so I can't even comment on that one.
Yeah, it would be a real shame to fork the ways that we make images, although it seems like that might be one path forward. Working for Azure, people have heard about this, of course, and I'm getting pressure from some managers to, hey, we need a backup. We should just do it with Azure Image Builder, which is a confusingly named not private, but closed source service that builds images it's pretty straightforward. I could probably get this all working in a day, the pipelines we have, but it wouldn't, then we have the balkanization problem of I don't inherit fixes that happen to the general code base. And if I fix something specific to the way Azure builds images, then it's incumbent on me as an open source person to try and figure out how to do something similar in all the other ways we do it. It sounds like a nightmare, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what else to do.
Sorry, I just saw the message from Anura. So I can't at the moment because I'm yet to look into that properly myself. I think Marcus has had a little bit of a look into that. I can't, but I don't know if Matt, have you played with systemd sysx yourself, or is that something you've got any?
Trying to open the
I may be able to share a gist. So the Flatcar folks use it a lot. And we had one of my co-maintainers has got it working on Ubuntu using the Flatcar sysx images. But essentially what it does is you have an immutable OS, and then you mount a published sysx image on top of your immutable your immutable OS image. If I can find this, if I can find what Leonard, here it is. I'm going to share a link in chat.
I'm not trying to share the world with everyone. I'm just looking up some other related documents.
So if folks look at that, this is kubeadm booting a vanilla Ubuntu and turning it into a Kubernetes image on first boot. And essentially it downloads a sysx for CRI-O and a sysx for Kubernetes 130. It puts them in the right place, and then it starts systemd sysx, and then magic happens, and then the contents of those two images are now merged into the OS's base image. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but it's not doing an awful lot of other stuff that the image builder packer config is doing.
We in the CapC project had a demo of this from the Flatcar people, and I linked to the PR that's out there that actually really needs to be rebased and reviewed because it worked. But I'll link to the presentation they gave because it was really good. I don't want to look it up right now. And I really do think that potentially, what are the other limitations? It doesn't work with some types of distros potentially. But there's a new version merging where some issue on RPM distros is no longer, I don't know. So they're hopeful that it's going to support all of Linuxes. And it would be a really nice clean approach instead of image builder. But the thing I keep thinking about is it doesn't address Windows. And I don't know how else to do Windows. Um, the Azure Image Builder service that I was talking about that's proprietary also won't work for us for Windows because in our building process, we have to reboot once and it won't handle that. So right now, Packer is the only tool we know of that can handle Windows. But if we were to move forward into some hybrid environment where we're saying we use sysext for all the Linux images, and then Windows has to do its own thing, maybe still leaning on Packer or hopefully finding some other way forward. That sounds acceptable to me. It's
Okay.
nice that we can do Windows and everything under Packer, but if we had to fork sort of at that level, that doesn't sound like a nightmare. I just worry about like multiple providers having multiple ways of doing it. And it seems like there's no need for a central image builder project, or maybe there still is, but just the maintenance sounds impossible.
I guess if we go down the sysex route as well, with the QEMU and RAW approach, we'd probably have to use the cloud init. Sorry, not the cloud init. There's the cloud disks, if you like, rather than the ISOs. I guess that's where that process would change slightly there, from what I'm seeing, because that looks like. Correct me if I'm wrong here, by the way, because I literally know nothing about this, but just reading through it, looks like it expects a base image to exist already. So I guess that's where we just trade out the ISO for a RAW or something straight from Ubuntu, for example.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think he would reference the raw. I think what Linux's doing here is the systemd sysext documentation recommends against it, because it says that sysext layers should be built by the same build system that builds the operating system, and he's putting a flat car layer on Ubuntu, which works today. So, yeah, but maybe not tomorrow.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Marcus said he spoke to some Ubuntu maintainers at KubeCon this year, and they said that Ubuntu is going to be getting support for it soon. So hopefully that will come in. I might have got wires crossed there, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said, that Ubuntu are looking to get this into it. So hopefully there won't have to be a merging of flat car elements into Ubuntu to get it to work. But this could be viable. This could be viable. But it still raises the issue around Windows, doesn't it? So I guess maybe as a North Star goal, that could be where we head. But for now, I'm wondering if we can speak to CNCF once more and just say, look, if we remove Packer from every part of our code base in terms of the scripts that download it and the containers we build that have it in, if we do that, is that sufficient enough? If we just have the code that runs, the Packer runs, is that enough? If they're happy with that, then we can at least continue with that for now. And then people can use the latest Packer as well. That's up to them. That's on them to make that decision if they want to use the BSL version, business license version. Sorry, that seems like the simplest solution today, is what I would say, in terms of just getting Packer out of the repo. But I guess we need sign off on that first before we just start making that decision, because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know for sure that is legit. But my understanding would be that having the HCL code there is fine. We just have to probably update the documentation and just say, look, if you want to build images, we don't provide the containers anymore, because that would break the license. You bring your own Packer. You can download it from this link here. That sort of thing.
I just want to double check on I'm pretty sure you're right. HCL itself does not carry a license, but we should make sure. That does sound like the most expedient thing, assuming the CNCF sees it our way and agrees that, oh, you're not actually bundling it, so it doesn't, the licensing is not an issue. Do we know? I don't have any idea how many people actually use the container. So when we do an image builder release, we produce an artifact, which is that Docker image. which makes it easy to not install image builder and just build stuff out of the Docker image. It's a nice convenience, but I wonder how many people actually use it.
I mean, personally, I don't. I've written my own Go binary that sits around the make commands and just fires it in that way. It just generates all the configs as needed and just fires off make. So personally, that wouldn't affect me. And I'm building an OpenStack. I do some stuff in QEMU. So yeah, it's just from my side of things. I'm not sure how others use it.
I know we do have some people that use the images. And I know this because we wanted to get a patch in to add some stuff to the image so that folks could do that. So I'm also not personally using it, but I do know that it's being used.
Yeah.
Or was.
So we would be putting the burden on your team then to build the image and host it themselves. I think we could still leave the Docker file in, but we wouldn't be producing the artifact anymore. So we could say, hey, we're not really bundling Packer, but you can if you choose to. I think, yeah. Seems like a pain, but probably I don't see any other way forward if we. Yeah.
There's also wait and see if IBM does the right thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We've said that. There's always that hope.
Yeah, I don't know if that should be the out loud strategy. When we said it out loud, people are like, I wouldn't wait on that, and it seems unlikely. But there's certainly some hope that IBM will see things differently than HashiCorp did. But things don't move very quickly either way, so that probably wouldn't happen for a long time. And
yeah, I think for now, if we can, I don't know if we can just reopen that issue and just ask them to clarify on that, or if it's worth just raising another one. But I think the first port of call would be, can we stop bundling Packer ourselves? And if so, that's the solution today. It's not the best solution in terms of, well, I mean, it might be the best solution, but it's not ideal. I guess is the way I'm looking at, for everyone if they're using the image. But it's probably the path of least friction is the way I put it,
I agree.
I mean, we might even be able to keep the scripts that download and install Packer for people. I think as long as we're not using Packer directly and bundling it into our service, then, well, the image itself, then I'm pretty sure that would keep us in with the license. But I don't know if CNCF might just turn around and say, look, stop using Packer altogether, and that's it.
I know. Yeah, I know the license is fundamentally abhorrent to CNCF.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I totally get it. On the other hand, we are where we are, and I'm also not a lawyer, but I read, when this all came out, I spent a bunch of time reading HashiCorp's new stuff, and it seemed pretty clear that this would not be a licensing issue if we did this way. But I'm not a lawyer. Let's ask CNCF
absolutely
again. I did ask Microsoft's legal team, Sela, and they came back and said something like that would be fine. In fact, they thought our existing use of it was fine, and that we could, from their point of view, we weren't tripping any wires. But they're not the CNCF, and they don't have the purity of open source license at heart the same way.
And I'm not sure how the decisions are made upstream, if you like, at CNCF, but it might just be they're purely looking at it from a Packer license point of view rather than how we're using it. And so that could just be a conversation we need to have with them and just say, look, this is the scenario we have. Is that legal for us? I guess not legal, but you know what I mean? Like, is it okay for us to carry on down that route? But yeah, so I think maybe the first thing is contact them. And then if not, we have to realistically look at another option. And if it means having a different approach for Linux and Windows, we may have to do that. How we go about it, I don't know. I guess that's just going to take cross that bridge as we come to it.
Right. Well, I guess that's our action item is we'll ask the CNCF if we can squeeze through that loophole because it seems like an obvious one. I would volunteer to do that, but I actually want Marcus to weigh in. So let's give him a little bit.
Yes, agreed.
He wanted to be here and he wants to watch this video and just and he's been pretty involved. So after we hear back from him, then let's restart the CNCF, either reopen that thread or open a new one and see if we can get their attention.
Yeah, I mean it's not desperate today at the end of the day. We've frozen it at the version of the original license, so it's
Yeah.
more from my perspective, it's more the security elements. You know, how many security issues are going to start coming into the fray as we move further and further away from that release. You know,
Right.
I mean, there might be none. I've not actually checked. I probably should. It's like my job to check for security, so I should probably check that.
I kind of looked through the well, okay, full confession. I did basically what you did, Drew, which is I
Mm,
figured out how to clone Packer from the commit before they changed it and make sure that I
mhm.
didn't get anything past that. So there, even in the history of the repo, there wouldn't be any BSL license commits. And then I set
Yeah,
up the GitHub actions, and then all of a sudden everything started failing, and I realized that no, I'm going to have to maintain console and several other libraries, and this is
yeah,
not happening. Uh, so sorry.
yeah. It's
Anyway, I
not a
forgot
simple
my point.
fork.
It's not. It's definitely not
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
Uh,
It's a huge task to do that.
yeah. Sorry, I forgot my point there. But anyway, so do we have any other discussion about this, or it seems like that's our action item, but there's probably other people out there in the community with opinions as well. All right. Well, Matt, did you have any more you want to say about System D or Bootsy? I don't even know what Bootsy does here.
I mean, I can talk about Bootsy, but it's again fundamentally different, and I think uh, until we get to the point where we're looking at possibly distro specific approaches, then yeah, it's not worth getting into it.
Okay. I assume it probably also wouldn't support Windows things.
It does
So
not. No, no, it's very Linux.
Have to have a chat with Microsoft, Matt, get them to change that kernel.
yeah, right. I mean, they're kind of trying, but it won't go away.
WSL all the
That's
way.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Just
it.
expand your WSL until it's the whole operating system.
Yeah, just phase out PowerShell and all that. No, it's just WSL. You all have to learn it. I can handle that. All right. Well, that's the end of our agenda. Do we have anything else we want to talk about? Any random topics? Anurag says, with regard to System D, I think it'd be great to have flat car maintainers on the call so we can request them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I know a friendly flat car maintainer because they produce stuff for Capo. Uh, I can ping him and ask him if he wants to join this call 1 week if folks are interested.
Sure.
I think that'd be good. Yeah.
I'm also gonna link to the demo that they gave us because that's really I thought it was really good.
Oh, they're Microsoft as well, of course, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They don't work
Yeah.
adjacent to us, but I know a couple of them.
So
I like Flatcar. I have a long history with Core OS and all that. I worked at a startup that was very aligned with Core OS that got bought by Microsoft. So I really want to see Flatcar continue to succeed. I like that model.
I'll just put in chat our friendly flat car person. He has a Microsoft.com email address.
Oh, cool. I don't actually know him. I know some other people on the team. Yeah, well, I don't know if we should schedule it for the next one, but maybe once we have a read on, because yes, if they're okay with sort of this licensing, not bundling it and all that, then maybe we can stop worrying about it. But even so, SysExt has a lot of promise, and it's what
Mhm.
Blackcar wants to do for the CapZ project. They've already stopped publishing images from Image Builder. Actually, I tried to update that recently, and I found out they only published up to 127, and then they just stopped because they want SysExt to be the approach. And we can accommodate that in the CapZ project. We don't have to keep using these images. So SysExt still has a future, even if Image Builder doesn't go all in on it, is what the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, we can always throw another directory into the image builder. Sorry, into the image builder at some point and start working on it side by side and see how it goes. If we can get people to start contributing to that as well, then that might be a good way to start doing it. I mean, we had other sub projects, I guess, within it, like COPS and the Go binary that was being built. So yeah, I mean, it's not completely unfeasible to think we could do something like that and work on it alongside if we can find the people to help us maintain it and build it. Yeah.
Well, on a slightly related note, when I was looking to Bootsy, so the one sentence summary is Bootsy is Docker files for building OS images. And when I was looking into that, what would it take to produce one of those? Currently, I think it's only well supported on Fedora and CentOS. But I was going to mine Image Builder because you're going to have to do all of the same things.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to write them differently, but it's still the same job. You still want all of the exact same configuration. So whether it's SysExt, Bootsy, Packer, whatever, it's still all fundamentally trying to produce the same resulting image.
Yeah.
So it's common. Well, it's a commons of configuration information at the very least.
It kind of all boils down to a bunch of little shell script snippets, and then the way you actually run them is orchestrate them and maybe varies. But ideally the shell script snippets are the same everywhere. There's one source of truth, and maybe if they get run through SysExt and also pulled in through Ansible, then I don't know. We can dream.
I was just about to say, I mean, Ansible is kind of the brains of it, I guess, on the whole, isn't it? So is there anything else that we can think about that might enable us to just do what Packer did? I'm not sure if there's anything out there that does anything similar.
You could orchestrate Ansible on its own. I mean, yeah, Ansible is doing most of the work in our setup. Yeah. It's just setting up, provisioning the machine and setting up SSH and cleaning it up and all that mechanics that's specific to every provider is the thing that Packer solves.
Yeah, I think that was the problem with the Go binary that was being built originally, wasn't it? It was essentially just trying to merge all of the things Packer did into one nice little binary. I mean, it's technically possible, but again, it's the maintenance cost of it. And
that was sort of the original dream of Image Builder, is like anything we do with images lives here, and maybe there's more than one way to do it. So I do think if we got to the point where we're using SysExt for a lot of things, that it would be a great place to put it. Also, because it sounds like you have to have different artifacts for different distros potentially for SysExt, right? So it would be good to keep those in a similar location. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about? Should we call it good for today?
Yeah, nothing springs to mind. I think that's our main focus at the moment, isn't it? To see what we can do around this.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for showing up. I think that was good discussion. And
yes,
just to recap as an action item, we will coordinate with Marcus, the other maintainer, on Slack or elsewhere, and assuming we have consensus with him, we'll go ahead and ping the CNCF again and see if it's okay to stop bundling Packer.
That sounds
Alrighty.
good. Cool.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, take care, everyone.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Take care. Bye.